Sam Nunberg. And after Sam Nunberg will be Ziad Ramadan.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Landmark Commission, my name is Sam Nunberg. I'm Deputy Political Director of the American Center for Law and Justice, and my parents own property at 57 Warren Street. At 8:45 a.m. on 9/11, my uncle heard a wisp outside his window. When he saw American Airlines Flight 11 hit Tower 1's northern facade, Mohammed Atta's hijacked plane's wheel flew from the impact and landed in 4547 Park Place. Ladies and gentlemen of the Landmark Commission, what is going on here today? The board, by law, is duty-bound not to act in any manner that is arbitrary or capricious. Yet after sitting on this landmark application since 1989, suddenly after an application to erect the Cordoba Mosque, it appears that the board is clearing the decks and ramming this matter through for political expediency. The landmarking of this building is important not only to maintain the character of the neighborhood and to preserve the unique architectural design that would otherwise be lost, but also because of the tragic events of 9/11. It is important to grant the landmark status in order to freeze construction of buildings that do not belong at the location and would irreparably change the look of the neighborhood. Not only has the building stood there for over 150 years, it has also felt the impact of the 9/11 attack unlike any other building in the area. If this commission felt it appropriate to landmark 11 West 18th Street because Bill Ayers Weather Underground had a terrorist malfunction incident, then 4547 Park Place surely deserves landmark status due to the impact of the wheel from Atta's hijacked American Airlines Flight 11. It would be a travesty to permit this building to be removed. It would be like removing the sunken ships from Pearl Harbor to erect a memorial for the Japanese kamikazes killed in the attack. Just as all eyes of the nation were looking intently on this neighborhood immediately after the attack of September 11, 2001, rest assured that the power of the ACLJ will make sure that the nation, our national members from across all 50 states, will follow the manner in which this commission will act to either preserve the character of 4547 Park Place or to permit changes that will blot out memories ebbed in our national psyche. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ziad Ramadan. And let me call 5 more names so we can get set up, if possible. Valerie Lusnikowska, Roman Schusterman. There's another Jack Lester, apparently, from 261 Madison, if I'm not mistaken. And then Robert Spencer and Andrea Quinn. Anyway, and I'll call them again, but please, if you've heard your name, go to one of the 2 mics.
Ziad Ramadan, good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Commission. I'm speaking as a congregant since the inception of the completed sale of the building. As a proud American, I enjoy my First Amendment rights to freedom of worship. Some tidbits that I think that the Commission should know. That was a hard act to follow, but I can say that my wife was a first responder at 9/11, and she built the triage centers and she built the pharmacies, and the USS Mercy thanked her for creating order out of the chaos in order to help her fellow first responders. My brother was a first responder as well. I was with Columbia University's emergency rooms. I was helping to establish a food and pantry setup because we knew the whole island was sealed off and the food suppliers would not be able to help the hospitals. But most importantly, as a former chair of my community board in Manhattan, I'm familiar with the nature of these proceedings. Though the community board one has not finalized its resolution, the committee has unanimously rejected the denotation of this building as a landmark. We have a word that I'm sure you're very familiar with, and that's contextual. The nature of this building would not be contextual to the surrounding community, but I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's your expertise. I just want you to know that as Americans, it would be defying what our soldiers are fighting for, what our founding fathers created, and what this Constitution promises all of us, and that's the freedom of religion. If we start picking and choosing what house of holy worship should be on which street, we're opening up a can of worms that will be a huge mess for us as Americans. One last note. a lot of the rhetoric that you're hearing about not here, not at Ground Zero, anywhere else, it's the same thing that's happening in Staten Island. It's the same thing that's happening in Brooklyn. And everybody's saying, no, it's called Islamophobia, pure and simple. And do not allow...
Please let him speak. Conclude.
Now, you see, if this is the voice of reason,
okay,
then we've got a lot to contend with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Valerie Luzenkowska.
Sorry, did you call Roman Schussman?
Then I'm going to call Robert Spencer.
My name is Valerie Luchnikovska.
Next. You're
and
next.
I hope you bear with me while I read this statement, because I am a member, I lost my nephew in the World Trade Center, and I am a member of a group called September 11 Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, all of whom lost someone in the events of that day, and some of my colleagues are sitting right here. Thank you for this opportunity to address the Commission and others here who are interested in preserving the heritage and beauty of our city. I was Executive Director of the Congress of Modern Architects for 6 years. As someone who lost a family member in the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center, I also have a keen interest in the area, as do my colleagues who are sitting here. The building at issue here, 45 to 47 Park Place, is representative of the Italianate style of architecture, a handsome building, but not unique. There are a myriad better examples of the antebellum Italianate style in areas including Tribeca, Soho, the Lower East Side, Red Hook, Brooklyn, and Williamsburg. This landmarking proposal was calendared by the LPC years ago with reason. The current proposal to demolish the building to make way for a Muslim community center, Cordoba House, has prompted the Commission to examine whether or not to move ahead with a landmark designation at this point. The possibility of giving landmark status to the building in question has been in the hopper for 21 years, partly postponed by the opposition of the Burlington Coat Factory Corporation, its former tenant, and partly because the building is just not worth the designation, as it is not unique and no longer part of a surrounding architectural grouping. Similar buildings nearby have long been replaced and overshadowed by skyscrapers, and many other substantial communities of this architectural type still exist elsewhere, as I formerly stated. For these reasons, the landmarking proposal has languished at the Commission with no active proponents to bring it to the fore. I completely support landmark status for good examples of architectural styles that represent various eras of development in New York City. But it is the opinion of many architects that there needs to be a consistency in how that status is granted. With a plethora of this type of design still extant in the city, individual buildings like this should be landmarked, preferably where they still exist in groups, to convey the sense of the community in its time. Therefore, I urge the Commission to make their decision based on the true merits of the design, which in this case is not extraordinary. Many of us, myself and other 9/11 family survivors here with me in the audience, who lost loved ones right there at the site, urge you to work with the Muslim Center to find the best solution for keeping any of the building features you deem significant, while recognizing the immense value of the community center as planned to all the residents of Lower Manhattan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Spencer, Robert Spencer.
Yes, I would like to echo one of the earlier speakers who failed to understand the relevance of these statements about the Muslim American community and their love for America and their value to the community and so on. But as long as those statements are relevant in the landmarks hearing, then I think also relevant is the support of the Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf for Sharia law, which institutionalizes discrimination against women and religious minorities, and which denies the freedom of speech and the freedom of conscience. And also his refusal to denounce Hamas as a terrorist group, his support for the jihad flotilla that was trying to smuggle arms into Israel, his statements that dissembled about his support for religious dialogue, speaking in favor of religious dialogue to American audiences, but then saying to Arabic audiences that he opposed religious dialogue, and also his dissembling about the funding that he was receiving, in saying that he was only receiving funding from American Muslim sources to the American press, but to the Arabic-speaking press saying he was receiving funding from various Muslim groups.
Can you excuse me for
These
1 second?
things
We
are-
need to hear you, so if people would please respect the ability
I
of the
appreciate
speakers to
that.
speak. Go ahead.
These things are all as much as of a matter of record for what kind of a building this is going to be and what it's going to do in Lower Manhattan, as these bland statements of civic virtue are from the Muslims who have spoken here so far. If it's bigotry to say that this guy is lying to us, well then call it what you want. But if he's lying to us and he's going to make a subversive group that a subversive institution that is spreading subversion in Lower Manhattan, that would seem to be part of your responsibility to consider. Also, it's very interesting that Mr. Riddle said that the building had no unique history. I couldn't help but note that it was the only building in New York City that the landing gear from one of the 9/11 planes crashed into, and that does give it a unique history and lends support for the idea already enunciated here that this building and the surrounding areas should be a war memorial, and that would be probably the best designation for it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Andrea Quinn.
Good afternoon.
Boo! Boo! Boo!
Yeah.
My name is Andrea Quinn. The Burlington Coat Factory building, located at 45 Park Place, deserves to be granted landmark status. The architectural and cultural importance of this building must not and cannot be denied. The plan to build a 16-story mosque on that site is absolutely ludicrous. New York City is home to many existing mosques and cultural centers. There is no shortage of mosques in Lower Manhattan or anywhere in New York City. With so few palazzo-style buildings left in New York City, it is the Commission's duty to take positive action and preserve this piece of American history. It is the Commission's duty to maintain this architectural style in Lower Manhattan. To deprive this building of landmark status is to allow for a citadel of Islamic supremacy to be erected in its place. Nothing could be more negative, and nothing could be more insensitive, and nothing could be more damaging to the American spirit. We appeal to you here today. This is your opportunity to show that the Commission has not forgotten the terrorist attacks of 9/11. That the Commission and the City of New York have respect and compassion for humanity. This is your opportunity to take positive action, to send a positive message to the people of New York and all of America. We implore you to be positive. Make the positive decision. Grant landmark status. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to call five more names, please, so everybody can hear. Michael Henry. Now elected officials are represented here. One person I'd like to call now is Michael Henry Adams, who represents Senator Perkins. And then I understand that Rick Lazio is here. He would speak next. And then Roman Schusterman, the aforementioned Jack Lester, and Sarah Hartman. So those five. Mr. Adams.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Henry Adams, and I'm representing State Senator Bill Perkins of the 30th District. I write to you as a senator representing the 30th District of New York State, widely associated with historic Harlem, but comprising as well significant portions of East Harlem's El Barrio, Washington Heights, Morningside Heights, and the Upper West Side. No one could logically question my record as a stalwart preservationist. Preserving our history is embodied by the most exceptional or representative buildings from The past is certainly one of the most enduring things that we politicians do. In Harlem, on Washington and Morningside Heights, and elsewhere, our remarkable landmarks law has sometimes been misused. Solely for political considerations, undisputed landmarks like St. Thomas the Apostle Roman Catholic Church or St. Vincent de Paul Roman Catholic Church have not been properly protected. This is wrong, and similarly now, when the 152-year-old Burlington Coat Factory building at 45 Park Place, first proposed for designation 20 years ago, has finally gotten a hearing, there is a question raised as to whether or not the law is being misused in a different kind of way. This is not for me to determine. However, with Mayor Michael Bloomberg and Manhattan Borough President Scott Stringer, I join in welcoming an opportunity for the creation of a new house of worship in our city. The proposed mosque and social center exemplify an element of the diversity and cultural richness that makes New York the best city and America the greatest nation. No other place has the strength of forging a single unit out of so many different peoples. No building better than the one envisioned demonstrates the extent of our position of tolerance and strength with justice and opportunity for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rick Lazio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and the members of the Commission for giving me the opportunity to testify before you. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Mr. Chairman, I urge this Commission to grant landmark status to 45 Park Place. For more than 20 years, the application for landmark status has stood in limbo, while over those many years since 1989, this issue has been calendared and yet adjourned repeatedly, tabling the issue. Now it seems as though the Commission is being asked to rush through its decision about the historical importance of this building, and I ask that before you make this decision that you take into account certain important historical facts. Just 7 months ago, as you know, this Commission decided that 311 Broadway, a building just blocks away from 45 Park Place, was considered a historical landmark and granted that status. This decision was made because it was one of the few remaining palazzo-style Italian Renaissance buildings left in New York. Yet, Mr. Chairman, 45 Park Place also fits this description. It's located in the same neighborhood and is only 1 block south of the South Tribeca Historic District. If you look at these two buildings, it is not difficult to see the striking resemblance between this architecture. So if 311 Broadway is a landmark, why not 45 Park Place? Mr. Chairman, the famed architect Daniel Badger designed 45 Park Place, and a number of his buildings, as you know, have already been granted landmark status by the city. Further, 45 Park Place was the headquarters of Merck & Company for 14 years, from 1911 to 1925, the pharmaceutical giant. And of course, as others have testified before me, on September 11th, the building itself was damaged by the landing gear of one of the planes that struck the the Twin Towers. It was part of the attack, a place of deep historical significance, and a reminder just of what happened on New York's darkest day. It has also come to my attention, Mr. Chairman, that 45 Park Place's status as a historical landmark has not received a full vote from the Community Board, number 1. It is only appropriate that the full Community Board review this landmark application before any action by this Commission. Until the full Community Board has addressed this matter, this Commission should not decide on the landmark status of 45 Park Place. Finally, Mr. Chairman, it's not lost on me the limitations of the jurisdiction of this Commission in considering other issues outside of the historical importance of the building. But I will say it's impossible to consider this without understanding the context of what we're asking for. A delay in the process to allow us to get answers to some very critical questions. Aman Rauf, who is the spearhead of this proposal, in fact, has said some incredibly incendiary, controversial things. This is somebody who has created controversy by saying effectively that America and American policy was the accessory to the crime of 9/11. He is somebody who's been tied to some of the most militant international organizations. This is a time when we need to ask serious questions that will keep the people of New York, and particularly the people of downtown Manhattan, feeling and actually being safe. This is no small matter. This is a proposal for a $100 million mosque, and I would ask that, again, in the context of this decision, that you give people the time to have these questions answered. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Roman Schusterman. Please, quiet. Roman Schusterman.
Yeah, I'm over here.
There you go. And then Jack Lester, excuse me,
Wait,
and Sarah Hartman.
Just give me a minute. Okay, my name is Roman Schusterman. Yeah, I'm from the Coney Island area. I'm an activist for a while. And I know the sign's getting a lot of attention because there's a lot of tension in the room. So I wanted to, make it a little bit more, a little less tension. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of fighting over this building, over these bricks. I mean, everyone's so passionate about this building. Personally, at first I was actually against the mosque in the beginning because I thought Bloomberg was trying to use it as some sort of political issue to try to get Muslim votes. But now it appears that it's not just the mosque in Manhattan, it's people protesting mosques in general and protesting Muslims in general. Now, the problem with that is that if our country is so great and our culture is so great, why do we need to, be so angry and violently be protesting Muslims? I think that...
Please, let him speak.
Now,
let everyone speak so we can hear. Please. Shh. Okay.
Even if there are a lot of Muslim terrorists, which there are. I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying we're in America, right? Isn't this our country?
Continue to speak.
But what's special about that building? So this meeting is this meeting about landmarking, or is this meeting about Muslims? Because this paper said it's about landmarking, right? All right, so if it's about landmarking, but people aren't here not to discuss landmarking, then I want to discuss my issue, which is free happy endings, okay? So, since we're going to just discuss random issues, that's what I think is going to make the world better. Look, Al Gore had a problem, right? Maybe if he didn't have to pay for it, everyone could have a good time. We could all get together, and everyone would have peace. All right, that's my point.
Thank you very much. Is Jack Lester, the other Jack Lester, as I call him here? If not, Sarah Hartman. And Sarah, if you'd bear with me one moment before you begin, I want to call also to Kate McNutt, Rachel Poussin, and Barbara Summer to sort of get ready, if you would. Thank you. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Hartman. Actually, based on your study of the architectural and historical significance of 4547 Park Place building, I'm kind of surprised that you haven't already designated as a landmark status. I think that a lot of reasons that have already been presented by some of the other speakers clearly indicate that it should be. And I do feel that it would be a terrible mistake to destroy a 154-year-old building in order to build a monument to terrorism, and that actually disrespects the lives of those who have been lost and our culture and history of freedom in this country. And there are plenty of places where mosques can be built, and I have nothing against mosques being built, but I think this is a terrible mistake at this particular site, which should be designated as a historical area and a sacred area, to destroy a building of landmark status, or the quality of that kind of a building for these purposes. And there's peaceful Islam. It's not about being having Islamophobia, but there are definitely different sects of Islam, and I realize that the Commission is not concerned with the future of whatever would happen to this site. But as an American citizen and as a resident of Manhattan, I am concerned about what could happen. And there are jihadist Islamists, and there are peaceful Islamists, and there's no way of knowing what this particular center, which sect is going to dominate. Is true of any other place, but there's freedom of religion and speech and everything else here. That's why we have this wonderful opportunity to speak. But I am concerned about it not, that this mosque being built at this particular site that should be declared as a whole historic site.
Thank you very much.